Hello and welcome to Dingoes Ate My Podcast. I'm Paul.
And I'm Dave.
And this week we'll be discussing the episode The Magic Bullet. This episode originally aired April 16th, 2003, attracting approximately 4.09 million viewers. Alrighty, so let us start off with the number one song in America this week, Dave. Any idea what it could possibly be?
Hmm. And nothing is immediately coming to mind. Honestly, probably the safest bet would be the one from last week still sticking around.
It is still Into Club by 50 Cent.
Yeah.
It's apparently a tremendously popular song, and I don't understand why, because it's just, it's not my jam. Anyway, moving along to the number one film in America this week, Dave. Any idea what it could be?
Again, with the couple of films we've had, there's nothing that's immediately connected in my brain for around in April then.
It's a comedy, I'll give you that.
Nah, that was then. Yeah, there's far too many in my head to kind of pinpoint it exactly.
Okay, it's a film called Anger Management.
It sounds familiar, and I probably would have seen it, but it's not coming up in the brain.
It's Adam Sandler and Jack Nicholson. I don't think I've ever seen it because it's an Adam Sandler movie, so that pretty much means I've probably never watched it.
Makes a decent amount of sense.
Alrighty, and let us move on to video games. And we got a few this week. Maybe not a ton of huge stuff, but we got some stuff. So this week on April 16th, if you had an Xbox, you could pick up Godzilla Destroy All Monsters Melee.
Ooh, always fun. And it was only just on the Xbox?
Yes, it later came to GameCube,
Okay.
but it
Figured
was.
it would have made its way over to PlayStation at some
Oh no,
point.
sorry. It originally launched on GameCube and then came to the Xbox, but it never made it to PlayStation 2.
Uh,
Ready. So normally, again, we don't cover Japanese releases, but we're gonna make an exception here because I feel like this is warranted. April 17th, if you were in Japan and you either had a PS2 or a gaming PC, you could pick up a little expansion for Final Fantasy XI called The Rise of the Zillart. I think that's how you pronounce that. I don't know.
okay.
Did you ever play Final Fantasy
Yeah, it
XI?
was most likely a thing. But again, having some knowledge of some of the Final Fantasies, Final Fantasy 11 is one of the ones that I know of it, but oh man, with all the stuff that went on with it, I do not know.
Okay. Yeah, apparently this was the first expansion that was released, and there were then many, many more. And it is still going on. Wow, okay.
Hmm.
Ready. Moving on April 17th, if you were still rocking a PS1 in 2003, you could pick up a game called Pinobi Wings of Adventure.
Suppose it, yay?
It looks like it's some kind of platformer thing that came out for the PS1. I don't know. It doesn't look like it reviewed very well.
Hmm.
And if you had a PS2 on April 20th, you could pick up a little game called Siren. Not,
Again, suppose it, yay, but I've got nothing.
yeah, okay, I didn't think so. It looks like it's like a. So it's a survival horror game, and it looks like it got like okay reviews, but not like amazing.
Hmm.
And finally, on April 22nd, if you had a Game Boy Advance, you could pick up a little game called Ninja 5.0.
Suppose it, yay?
It's
Like, I've
another.
got nothing.
It's an action platformer for the GBA. Again, some sites gave it pretty good reviews, others not so much. Like It seems like it reviewed fairly well, but I don't remember this game at all. Alright, let's move on to the episode. Yes, I agree. Okay, so everyone in Los Angeles is happy and cheerful. Pedestrians and drivers travel through the city harmoniously until Fred runs into a car at an intersection. She's pursued by Wesley and Gunn, but Fred eludes them by hiding out in a sewer under a shopping center and also giving her jacket to some lady. That helps distract them.
Yes,
Uh, back at
indeed.
the Back at the Hyperion Hotel, Lauren has to turn away people who have come to the hotel to see Jasmine. She makes time to talk to many of them, and Angel asks how Jasmine always knows exactly what to say to people. She tells him that she looks into their hearts, though sometimes what they need is right in front of their faces. She tells a man in Spanish that his mustache provides him with great strength and dignity. Wesley and Gunn return with the news that Fred escaped. Connor wants to kill her and bring her back, but Wesley reminds him that Jasmine wants her alive. Jasmine invites a couple of people to go upstairs with her, while Wesley and Gunn admit to wishing she would pick them. Fred goes to Magic Bullet Books, where she apparently visited 3 days earlier to read up on mass hypnosis. But now she's looking for information on mind control. The shopkeeper says that he used to be obsessed with mind control, and although he still believes in it, he just doesn't worry about it anymore. The shopkeeper opens a drawer with a gun, a yo-yo, and a book titled Making Mind Control Work for You. He gives the book to Fred and says that she thinks she's trying to get and says that he thinks she is trying to get the government to learn about Jasmine's love. Connor and Angel try to track Fred through the sewers. Angel learns that Connor has been tracking people since he was a kid. Holtz would tie him to a tree and then run away, expecting Connor to free himself and find Holtz. Angel is shocked that Holtz abandoned Connor like that, but Connor considers it good because he needs to learn how to track. Angel and Connor both suddenly close their eyes, receiving a message that Jasmine wants them back at the Hyperion. Back at the hotel, Wesley, Gunn, and Lauren are helping Jasmine build her media empire. Connor and Angel arrive confused as to how they were able to receive a message. Jasmine explains that everyone is connected by love, and she wants to test that connection to see if they can find Fred. Everyone holds hands as Jasmine tells them to picture Fred and concentrate on finding her. Fred checks into a motel where people around her start looking at her. Fred takes off running, passing a man who is fueling his car. Another car hits his car, which sets off a fire. The guy in the car gets out and in flames walks to Fred, calling by her name and tells her not to be afraid. Jasmine's hands start smoking. She explains that she saw Fred, and all of her followers now know who Fred is and what she looks like. Fred has nowhere to run and nowhere to hide. In the meantime, the Angel Investigations team takes charge of meeting the needs of various pilgrims in the hotel, meeting Jasmine's demands through some sort of psychic network that connects everyone under her spell. Somewhere far away, Fred walks by the side of a highway. When she thinks she's spotted by a passing SUV, she steps off the road and falls down a hill. She finds herself in a cave where a short demon is also holed up. The creature assures Fred that he won't hurt her because he's vegetarian, although he does enjoy some finger foods. Back at the Hyperion, Wesley is giving a presentation to the assembled crowd about an insidious evil among them, Fred. He passes the podium to Lauren, who gives them the hourly Jasmine report. He then announces a new surprise, open mic night, an opportunity for everyone to pay their respects to Jasmine. Various followers sing their odes to Jasmine, including Lord singing Freddy's Dead, and Angel and Connor singing a revised version of Mandy. The demon in the cave reveals that he's hiding out because of the Jazz Maniacs attacking demons. The two find common ground as fugitives, but then he gets hungry and attacks Fred, who is injured. Fred fights back with an axe, killing him. Fred returns to the Magic Bullet bookstore, luring a crowd of people outside. The shopkeeper tells Fred that she's famous now, and that he's not supposed to hurt her. Jasmine arrives with Angel and Connor, and as a reward for the shopkeeper's help, she tells him that Lee Harvey Oswald worked alone in assassinating JFK, because he's like a conspiracy guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Jasmine turns to Fred, who says that she's sorry, and Jasmine accepts the apology. But Fred was talking to Angel. She raises the shopkeeper's handgun, aims at Jasmine, and fires. The bullet goes through Jasmine and then into Angel's shoulder. Angel vamps out and attacks Fred, grabbing the gun and pointing it to her jaw. Crying, Fred tells him to look at Jasmine. Angel is shocked when he sees her decaying, maggot-infested flesh, and he is released from her spell. Jasmine realizes it's her blood that released Fred and Angel, and she tells Connor that Angel is infected. Fred shoots Jasmine repeatedly, and Connor attacks her, knocking her out. Angel fights Connor off and then makes a run for it with an unconscious Fred in his arms. Connor wants to follow, but Jasmine tells him that she needs his help. Rather than clean up all the blood she's lost, Jasmine tells the shopkeeper to burn the store down. Back at the hotel, Jasmine returns to find the pilgrims sharing a potluck. She goes into the office, and Wesley, Gunn, and Lauren follow her. Jasmine explains that they've lost Angel to Fred and proclaims that they cannot be helped. Jasmine declares that in order to prevent further hatred, Angel and Fred must be killed on sight. She picks 3 people from the crowd and takes Connor with her as she leaves. Elsewhere, Fred awakens to Angel in a darkened alleyway. Angel is depressed, admitting to Fred that he misses the way Jasmine made him feel, even though it was only a lie. Fred tells him that she feels the same way and that she still cries despite it being over a week by now. She explained that Jasmine's blood breaks a spell. She got it in her system when she washed Jasmine's shirt, and Angel got it after the bullet passed through Jasmine and into his shoulder. Angel assures her that despite how awful they feel, she did the right thing. At this, Fred breaks down into tears, admitting that she's scared and claiming that she isn't a champion like Angel, but Angel comforts her and insists otherwise. Fred decides that they need to get more of Jasmine's blood so they can break the spell for the others. Angel points out that they'll never be able to get close to Jasmine now, but he has another idea. Before he can explain, they hear people coming, and Fred kisses Angel to throw people off. It doesn't work, and the two have to run. Jasmine takes the people she picked from the crowd into her room and asks Connor to guard the door. She asks them to remove their clothes, then examines her wound in a mirror, magically healing herself. Angel and Fred sneak into Cordelia's room, finding her still comatose. Angel apologizes to Cordelia, then starts to cut her arm with a knife. She grabs his wrist and he panics, thinking that she's awake. Fred has to tell him that people in a coma sometimes move or do things that don't mean they're waking up. They are able to get a small amount of blood, but Lauren comes in and finds them. Angel puts his hand over his mouth and infects him with Cordelia's blood, breaking the spell over him. Jasmine comes from out of her room, accompanied by a bright green light. Connor asks what happened to the 3 people who went into the room, and Jasmine replies, "I ate them." Lauren lures Wesley and Gunn upstairs, grabs a baseball bat, and knocks them out so that Fred can administer the cure. When they come to, Angel explains that Cordelia's blood worked because Jasmine used her to gain a physical body so that they share a blood link. Wesley brings Connor in, and the others hold him down for the cure. After Connor comes down, Angel tells him that they had to make him see the truth. Angel says, "You'll understand why we're here." Connor nods and then throws open the door and shouts to the rest of the Jazz Maniacs, alerting them to the gang's presence. All right. So what do we think of this episode, Dave?
Oh boy. Marvelous roller coaster of single person fighting a war with all the insanity that's going on.
Yes.
So, first little bits of levity within the episode was the guy in the Magic Bullet bookstore is just mildly amazing. Just the case that at first it sounded like he was a conspiracy sort of theorist, but then seemed he was kind of on the boat. But then it was a case that he was kind of on the boat, but he hadn't changed too much from his conspiracy sort of theory. So it's like interesting. But then sort of the case of, oh, he's a jazz maniac too. Oh, and just after the incident in the bookstore with the gun and whatnot, she's like, we need to clean this up. It's like, oh, I can do it. And it's like, no, you touched the blood. Hey, could you burn the store down? He's just like, okay, sure. And as
Yeah.
they leave, and he was like, should I go along too?
He,
Just so. Oh, and all the performancing and whatnot from the open mic night was mildly hilarious. The little kid, the crying lady, the woman with all of her cats. It just, it was mildly hilarious and gave episode, a couple little moments to kind of laugh at, but it was definitely kind of good to see with Fred seeing how she sort of figured out the incident with that, though it's still a bit of a case of what's the case with especially that one other person that could see what Jasmine was. How could he do that, or what kind of was the special case? Which, with how many episodes left, they're probably not going to explain. And then, yeah, we see a little bit more into Jasmine, kind of the case of she a munching on them peoples.
Yes, she does definitely eat people, and I like Jasmine as a villain because I think she's a very different villain than we've had kind of in the Buffyverse.
Hmm.
Like where she's not necessarily trying to bring about an apocalypse, although kind of is.
Well, it's kind of taking the whole idea is every villain has a goal. In most cases, the goal isn't very good for most everyone. And it's the same case here, but it seems good because that's how it's kind of coded. And unless you can see past it, you're probably going to follow along with it. And that's kind of one of the interesting things that this Jasmine sort of brings to the story.
Yeah, I think yeah, like you said, like I think she's a really fun villain, and well, we'll have to see what happens with her in the future.
And it's
So
also interesting that, especially with how things kind of panned out, that at first it was a case of there's one person that doesn't quite follow me, but I can kind of bring it under control. But as soon as she takes Angel out of the picture, it's sort of the case of, hmm, well, so much for mercy. Let's kill the bastards.
yes, now there's a lot of pop culture references in this episode, so we're not going to go through all of them because there's a whole
Yeah.
lot. There's like well, there's a JFK thing, and then there's a lot of other ones. I think it's really interesting though that Lauren refers to him as himself as Judas, which I'm like that's kind of interesting
Jeez.
because that makes Jasmine Jesus, and that's kind of a I mean I kind of
Mm.
see the point. I kind of see what they're going for, but I'm like I don't know if that really works.
Yeah.
I also love how the episode opens with the Beach Boys. Wouldn't it be nice?
Oh God, yes.
It's just such
Just
a
going on with
perfect
that.
opening.
Everyone's all happy, and then yeah, with that, and then Fred comes into the picture, and it's like, oh right, she kind of knows, and she's kind of being hunted.
Yeah, no, I thought that was a really fun touch. So
Mhm.
unfortunately for this week, we don't have any international titles. Oh, I tell a lie. We actually do have one. So most of them are the Magic Bullet or Magic Bullet, which is why normally we just
Mhm.
wouldn't bother covering them. However,
Mhm.
in Czech, it translates as pure blood.
There we go. Now, as it is with this episode, just with its titling, with the bookstore's name, just the case of the Chekhov's gun of the story, just marvelous. Mwah. Chef's kiss. But then also with this one, just pure blood. It misses in with the story as well.
Do you know what the reference is with the Magic Bullet?
Sadly, most of the only other thing running in my head is the commercials for a particular cleaning product. I think there was some other stuff, but I can't immediately recall.
No, okay, so it's a reference to the Magic Bullet is a reference to the assassination of JFK because there was
And
the
thus, it just makes it even bigger with the whole reference to the whole episode.
yeah, so it was basically a way to explain how like one bullet could have caused like multiple wounds, and it's kind of it's a conspiracy theory thing.
Hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, so if there's nothing else about this episode, next week we'll be talking about the episode Sacrifice.
Because whenever it comes to those holier than thou people, there's always some sort of sacrifice in it.
Alrighty. So, free for Jasmine's spell, Angel, Wesley, Gunn, Fred, and Lauren escape into the sewers for protection. You'll notice I didn't mention Connor in this. An evil tentacled
Yeah.
monster that has information about Jasmine captures Wes. Meanwhile, Connor, still in the clutches of Jasmine, discovers that Cordelia has vanished. So something's up with Connor.
Oh boy.
Something is always up with Connor.
Isn't it always the case?
Oh, it's gonna be good, and we're barreling to the end of the season, and oh boy, I can't wait. I can't wait until the twist at the end of this season. It's going to be good.
Oh boy.
Alrighty, so until next time, I'm Paul.
And I'm Dave.